Thanks for listening to Creative Control. While I have you here, please consider supporting Youth Empowerment and Support Services, otherwise known as YES. Based in Edmonton, Alberta, YES provides immediate and low-barrier overnight and day shelter, temporary supportive housing, and individualized wraparound supports for young people aged 15 to 24. They work collaboratively within a network of care focused on the prevention of youth homelessness by providing youth with the necessary supports to stabilize their housing, improve their well-being, build life skills, connect with community, and avoid re-entry into homelessness. Learn more about how to donate or otherwise support YES by visiting yess.org.
My name is Frank Silvestri. I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, not a Canadian. And Philly's really close to New Jersey, by the way. And I'm here to talk to you about why I am a Patreon supporter of Vish Khanna's Creative Control podcast, a unique long-form exploration of music, comedy, art, geography, and so much more. Vish is an incredible interviewer who has a charming, disarming, funny, reverently irreverent style, which feels a lot more like a conversation with friends than a podcast interview. These conversations have included talking to people like Jeff Tweedy, Nels Klein, Ira Kaplan, Dan Romano, Carson McHone, the White Hot Lung, Juliana Riolino, and one of my all-time favorites, the Sadies. So if you're like me and you find these kind of conversations vital, essential, and important, I hope you'll join me in supporting Creative Control on Patreon.
To make your flexible monthly donation to Creative Control, please visit patreon.com/Creative Control today.
Rick White, Mike Belitsky, and Travis Good are each talented songwriters, multi-instrumentalists, singers, and artists based in different parts of Ontario, Canada. Originally from Moncton, New Brunswick, White first came to prominence in bands like Eric's Trip and Elevator to Hell, the latter of which eventually included an incarnation with the late Dallas Good of the Sadies. Now a three-piece band, the Sadies consists of Sean Dean, Belitsky, and Dallas's brother Travis, and because of their commitment to excellence in the studio and on the long, long road, the Sadies are always in the conversation about being the greatest rock and roll band in the whole wide world. Somewhat reclusive and live show averse for years now, White has long contributed songwriting and artwork to Sadie and was part of another band with them called The Unintended, who released one record together in 2004. 20 years later, White has reconnected with the Sadies for a wonderful new collaborative band and self-titled new album called Rick White and the Sadies, which was released by Blue Fog Recordings on June 7th, 2024. Rick, Mike, and Travis connected with me recently for a talk about an Ontario heat wave, a gender reveal about a previous guest on this show who happens to be a parrot, how Rick and the Sadies began working together in the first place, wonderful drummers like Mark Gaudet and Gary Young, inadvertently naming new songs the same names as other people's songs, how Dallas Good appears in dreams, visions, and in other ways before friends and family members, contemplating playing live shows, but also a post-recording update to report that Rick White and the Sadies are playing a show together, live at the Great Hall in Toronto on September 6, 2024, other future plans, and much more. A part of the Lionsgate Sound Network with the support of listeners like you who follow and subscribe to this listener-supported and donor-driven podcast. Spread the word about it, leave nice reviews and ratings on your podcast platform, and make flexible monthly donations at patreon.com/Creative Control, which is the primary and most reliable way for a podcaster like me to make a living, and where a monthly subscription of $6 American or its currency equivalent means you can access every single episode of this show in its entirety, which is not the case without that subscription. All amounts are welcome, of course, but just letting you know about the $6 a month thing. And again, you can learn more at patreon.com/Creative Control. Thanks in advance for your support of me and this show. With additional support from Blackbird Music, a wonderful record store with bricks and mortar locations in Edmonton and Calgary, Alberta, and a great website where you can order records directly to your house if you don't want to pick them up at the stores. Blackbird.ca. Say you want a copy of Rick White and the Sadies. Maybe they can get it for you. You never know. Visit blackbird.ca, type it in, and see what happens. Plus in-kind support from independent businesses like Pizza Trocadero, The Bookshelf, and Planet Bean Coffee in Guelph, Ontario, and Granddad's Donuts in Hamilton, Ontario. This is episode 889 of Creative Control, featuring the lovely and talented Rick White and the Sadies, with your host, me, Vish Khanna. Hey Rick, how's it going?
Hey, hello Vish.
Nice to have you back on the show. Where in the world are you today?
Just home. Sitting in my little recording studio area.
Oh, nice. Lovely.
Hot day.
I heard tell it was quite hot where you are, and like unusually hot. Is that fair to say, Rick?
Yeah, well, we don't. Yeah, it doesn't usually get this hot too often anymore, it seems. But we're in a bit of a heat wave for the solstice.
Yeah. But we live in Canada. It's very cold all the time. Is there any part of you that relishes the heat?
Well, like I said, yeah, it's just I like the winters, but it's rare that we get warm weather, so I try to enjoy it when we do get these little heat waves. Yeah. But after a couple of days, you're like, okay, I can't sleep anymore.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that it's a little hot, but like I say, I'm happy to hear you're celebrating it. It's very nice to have you back on the show. Yeah. Also joining us here, Travis, are you there?
I am. How you doing?
Very well. Nice to speak with you again. Thank you for returning to the show. Where in the world are you?
Where am I? I'm at home, up in the Trent Hills, in the blistering heat.
Yeah.
I hate the heat, but I love the season. So I don't know. There you go.
Yeah. Do you get any reprieve? Do you get a swimming hole or something like that? Do they still call them swimming holes where you live? I don't know if anyone ever calls them swimming holes. You get some water on you there, Travis? You get to go swimming or anything?
Oh, I could. I'm not a big fan of wearing shorts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is that just self-consciousness about your own legs, or is it something else?
Oh yeah, it's I don't need to see my legs.
You and me both, my friend. I agree. No, I'm sorry. Well, I hope you get some reprieve. You got air conditioning in that old house of yours there?
No, but I got a cold, wet, damp basement that's delightful to sit around in.
Oh, good. That's lovely. That's great. Well, again, nice.
But I'm not in it now, though, because I ran upstairs to close the door so we wouldn't have Mr. Pickles, my parrot, talking all the way through this interview.
Yes, we had this experience the last time you and Mike were here to talk about Sadie. And one thing I wanted to ask you about, Travis, since you brought the parrot up, is it possible that Mr. Pickles is actually a Mrs. Pickles? I learned this afterwards, but it's unconfirmed reports. Can you confirm or deny what I just said?
They are, in fact, now identifying as a girl, I believe.
I see. Okay.
We came at one morning. Mr. Pickles was very, very grouchy, and we called the vet, and because he wasn't eating and it was acting strange and lethargic, and then I was looking around the bottom of the cage, and there was an egg.
And sorry, how long had you had Mr. Pickles when you discovered the egg at the bottom of the cage?
About 4 or 5 years.
I see. And when you obtain a parrot like Mr. Pickles, who do you get it from exactly? A pet store or something like that?
I have no idea. I was on tour when Mr. Pickles arrived.
That is, people go on tour all the time. I don't know many people who return to find a parrot in their house. That's a bit unusual. Were you consulted about the parrot purchase?
No, it was a gift. And no, I was definitely not consulted.
No, it's okay. So Mr. Pickles was grouchy. And does Mr. Pickles talk a lot? We had the squawking. I remember that. But does he talk? Does he say words?
Yeah, he talks a lot. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
she talks a lot.
They talk a lot.
They talk a lot. They talk a lot.
They talk a lot. Well, I will say this. I miss Mr. or Mrs. Pickles very much. They were a big part of the last time you were on, but it's nice to have you here relatively interruption-free. Thanks for being back on the show, Travis.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And last but certainly not least, Mike Belitsky. Are you here?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Well, yeah. Unfortunately, I can. How are you, Mike?
Oh, ouch. I'm a little bruised at the moment, Fish, but other than that, I'm fine.
I'm sorry. Rick just said I was being rude, and he was bang on the money. I didn't mean to be rude. I was just trying to have some fun with my old pal, Mike. Sorry, Mike. It is lovely to talk to you again. Sorry, I didn't mean to bruise you. Where in the world are you?
I'm in Parkdale, Toronto, in the little room that I used to record with.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to have you back. Speaking of Parkdale, I mean, this isn't quite a great segue, but have you heard this news about Mr. or Mrs. Pickles? I feel like everyone's talking about it. Quite a revelation. What do you make of it? Having known Mr. or Mrs. Pickles for as long as you have, what did you make of this shocking revelation?
Oh, yeah, I was pretty surprised. I mean, what else can you, like, what other reaction can you really have to that kind of news? That was really pretty earth-shattering in our world.
Yes, I would agree, frankly. I mean, you must admit, Mike, that they were a huge part of our last conversation, like a major contributor. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah, no, very, very chatty. But yeah, no, just to revisit that news, yeah, I was really surprised. But yeah. I mean, who knows? I mean, how do you know other than if a bird lays an egg or not, whether it's male or female? So that was it was actually kind of cool.
I'm pretty sure you can go to school and become a doctor that figures this stuff out. I think people do know, Mike. It's just in this case, it was a surprise for the owners. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Yeah, okay, fair enough.
So anyway, it's very nice to have you. And sorry, you're in Parkdale. I assume, I think Rick was just alluding to the fact that it's hot in the country. Travis saying it's hot in the country. You're in the city, so it must be just a scorcher. Is it really terrible out there?
Yeah, it's pretty oppressive. But fortunately, the room, my little sound room, is in a basement, and it's like Travis's basement. It's kind of damp and cool. So
nice. Okay,
I'm feel pretty good right now.
Good. Well, it's great to have you back on the show. Thank you all for making time, and it's a momentous occasion to have this Rick White and the Sadies album out. I thought for people listening who may not be familiar, we should dig into the history a little bit here, this configuration, I suppose. And I want to start with Rick. Rick, can you take us back to how you became sort of part of the Sadies orbit, I suppose? Is it possible for you to take us back?
Yeah, well, I guess it was mainly meeting Dallas in the mid-'90s. I mean, I knew Mike a little bit before from Halifax days when he drummed with Jail and stuff, and I'm sure we played together with Eric Strip a few times and stuff, but never really knew each other very well until later. But I met Dallas. I think he was working at Songbird in Toronto at the time, and we went in there on tour looking for something to replace broke, on tour, and just kind of hit it off. And he was really friendly with us, and he knew who Elevator was, and I think invited us to go crash at his place for a while, to get high or whatever we were looking to do. And we just sort of, every time we'd hit Toronto after that, we'd kind of hook up and sleep on his floor at his apartment, and got to know each other that way. He ended up playing guitar with us, for a few songs here and there at shows, and just kind of got closer and closer as the years went on. And then I think by 99 or so, I think that's when he first kind of came on tour with us for a bit. And then when Tara and I had to move to Toronto when we couldn't afford our house out east anymore, we moved up to Toronto so Tara could work and could try to get more shows. We ended up moving in with Dallas, so that's kind of where it all got extra close.
I see.
I knew the rest of the Sadies, shortly after I first met Dallas too, because they started coming to Moncton and playing shows with us and staying at our house down there, and so that's where I got to know Travis and Mike and Sean better. So yeah, late 90s, like 97, 98.
Yeah. I was just going to say, we stayed at Rick and Tara's house in Moncton, or in Riverview, actually. And and we did some recording for Tremendous Step, our second record. We went in the basement, and I think we did, What did we do? Wasn't More to Follow, and maybe
And Mother of Earth.
Mother of Earth, yeah. And
Yeah.
that was probably the first time that we actually musically collaborated in any way, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
As a
that was
band.
good.
Dallas had already done stuff with Rick, but as a band, that was the first time we stuck our head in
I
the
think you had
studio.
maybe stayed with us before, maybe, but that was the first time. Yeah, we were there for like 4 or 5 days, I think, playing with Blue Rodeo.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so we recorded and hung out a lot more. That was fun.
That's really cool. So I hadn't heard the story of Rick, you encountering Dallas when he worked at Songbird Music. And for those wondering, Songbird Music was a music instrument store. So I don't know if it's still around. Is it still around, Rick?
No.
Yeah.
Actually, the building became Rotate this after for years, but Rotate has since moved too. But yeah, Songbird's been gone for a while now.
Is that right? I know there's one in Ottawa too. Travis, is there a Songbird? Or is that whole business sort of done?
I haven't been to their. I think they do have some sort of a shop on Bloor, but I think they do mostly like online stuff, sales and stuff. I believe.
Oh,
okay.
I don't know. I don't go to music stores anymore. I've got enough guitars. I don't need to browse them anymore.
yeah.
What if something goes haywire or broken? You just fix it yourself there, Travis?
No, I got an extra if that happens.
Okay, very good. You're a very practical man. You're like the MacGyver of music, I like to say. That's what I just came up with, and I hope you appreciate that distinction. Mike, Rick alludes to the fact that you might have crossed paths when you were playing in the band Jail, which, sorry, Mike, you lived out east for a spell, is that right?
That's correct. Yes, I did.
Yeah.
I did. I went to school in Halifax and played in bands. And yep, I don't think I was living in Halifax when I played with Jail. I think I'd already moved, but my parents lived there, and so when I was playing, like rehearsing and stuff, I certainly spent a lot of time there at my parents' place when I was playing in the band Jail.
I see. Okay. And do you have any particular sense memory of crossing paths with Rick or Eric's Trip or Elevator or in any other capacity?
I definitely had heard a lot about Eric's Trip and just all the stuff they had done with Sub Pop. And like Rick said, I'm sure we must have played at a festival or two together. But yeah, we didn't really know each other that well. I mean, I knew Mark, because I had played in some punk bands in Halifax, and I think Mark might have been in a band called Robbins or something.
Yeah.
And one of the punk bands I was in Halifax played a show with them, and I remember sort of being pretty, like in awe of his ability to play. And I probably went and introduced myself and was kind of, just an awkward kid, but so I would have known Mark.
Mark's always a little awkward to communicate with anyway.
I don't know if it was, I don't know if I would put that on him. In this case, I was probably pretty awkward. So I always knew of Mark, and I always knew of Rick and the rest of Eric's Trip.
Yeah.
And followed them because I was initially a fan of Mark's drumming and then a fan of the band as well.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, Mark Gaudet is for my money and maybe Mike's and maybe Rick's, one of the greatest drummers to ever play the drums. Just really, I can understand you being a little intimidated just to watch him play because he's just so magical as a player. And
yeah, it's not like a technical greatness. It's just kind of like this unique wildness about him.
Yeah, it's a creative greatness for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
He can't play a song the same way twice, really, but he can. When he's on, he's pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, that to me is greatness, I think. When someone is wild and when they're on, they're really on. Maybe, I don't know if any of you are familiar with Gary Young from Pavement, but I think he had a similar vibe of just like when he was on and, some of the recorded music that Gary did, like huge influence on my drumming, just fills and rolls and stuff like that. But most...
And older, he's from that school of like where you grow up learning more kind of jazziness a little bit, So
swing.
Mark has that a lot in him too, where it's more like of this Ian Pace. Like he's really into like drummers who were influenced by jazz more than grunge at all, So
yeah,
so he's got those fast wrists like the guys in the 60s and 70s had a bit.
Yeah, really fantastic. So Travis, it sounds like the connection between Rick and the Sadies was your brother Dallas. Do you have any sense memory of what Dallas sort of said when he was suggesting that Rick be something more of a collaborator, and that you might work together? Like, was he like, I met this great guy? Like, do you have any memory of how this was broached in your camp there, Travis?
Yeah, that was about it. It was like I met this great guy, and then that was the right. We never. I don't remember ever having a plan that we would do something together or anything. We were just kind of hanging around, and like Rick said, we had a bunch of time. We were there for like 4 days at his house, and eventually we went down into the basement and started doing stuff. It was I don't remember ever saying we should get together and do something.
Yeah,
he never really planted the seed that way.
Okay.
Yeah, it was kind of like we just learned that we were like-minded, you know. And I think we each learned a lot from each other over the years too. Like, especially, you know, when we ended up doing the unintended record, I think that's where both my writing and their writing changed in a way.
Yeah.
Like, I think I influenced Dallas's writing when he was playing with me, and their musicality really changed in my writing as well. So I think you can really see both of our bands change a bit after we played together more.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah,
yeah. I would agree with that too.
You noticed a change in the sensibility of the band when Rick entered the picture, Mike?
Well, I mean, I feel like we sort of started to experiment more and maybe broaden our, I guess, like, I don't know, it sounds corny, but like our vision changed from being sort of like a single-minded type of, or single-focused type of band, to trying different things, taking a little more time in the studio, trying to get different sounds, maybe experimenting with different styles of writing.
That's really fascinating, and I'm just going to go to Travis on this for a moment. Travis, can you kind of talk about, as a guitar player, as a musician, as a songwriter, can you expand upon what we've been talking about? How did working with Rick kind of open your world up a little bit as a player and a musician?
Well, I mean, I guess when we first met, that we were sort of like, I don't know, we were labeled like alt country. We were definitely more country sounding. I was playing more fiddle, and like Mike said, it just sort of broadened the whole the picture. I started to be more experimental. It was more, and before that, the records we did was with Steve Albini, right? And so it was very much just recorded kind of live and quickly, and it wasn't until we started to like experiment with sounds, and we started soaking ourselves in reverb and stuff like that. That all happened around unintended time.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah, I remember. I think it was Tremendous Efforts there. The black and white cover. Was that Tremendous Efforts? No, our favorite colors. Sorry.
Yeah,
that record is really when I felt it really started to. That was the record, I think, the first one after the unintended record. And like my Rick White albums, my solo records came right after too, and they both kind of took on each other's sound a little more. It was really a neat period for sure.
Yeah, Rick, yep. Can you give us a little background on? I think you maybe just did. Is that roughly when you started actually sending? So actually, you know what? I'm going to backtrack on what I was just saying because I don't understand how this worked out. It came to pass that Rick, you would write songs, I think specifically for the Sadies to write, to record and perform. First of all, is that accurate? And if so, when did that actually start, or how did that start?
Probably after the unintended record, in a way, because I think I kind of started writing after that in mind of making another unintended record, you know, after, like in 2004 or 5, which ended up becoming my first solo record, the Rick White album. But all those songs were originally intended for the unintended. But I remember when Dallas, we were still living together or close then, and we'd be hanging out, and I'd be playing him some of my new demos, and he'd be like, "Can we, you know?" I think it was first Why Be So Curious. He was like, "Oh, this would be perfect. You know, could we use this for the Sadies?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, sure. You know, like,
yeah,
I can write another one or something." You know, I always kind of treated songs as just they're fun to write. You know, sure, you can have it. And then after they did that one, I think then I was more kind of thinking on purpose when I would write one that sort of sounded like it would suit them. Or a song like Anna Lee, which ended up going to them, was just this. Sounded like their sound, but it was like kind of a creepy, you know, ghosty song that I thought Dallas would like. You know, it kind of has this creepy vibe to it, and
Yeah.
so I would just, you know, end up giving them, and that's how kind of it worked out. And there wasn't a lot over the years. Sometimes it would just be lyrics or artwork, you know, for the covers, and just, you know, I couldn't really like join their band, you know, and I wasn't much into touring and stuff. And so it was nice just being able to be like, to contribute stuff, you know, to them, because they were like my favorite band to listen to and see.
Yeah.
I think Stories Often Told. I think Stories Often Told was the first time that we started doing that together. Right. And you were like, I remember I didn't have a chorus, or you did a chorus for one of the songs. I can't.
Oh yeah,
Within a Stone.
For Within a Stone, yeah. I think I wrote some of those lyrics. Yeah.
Yes, and other lyrics
That's
on
true.
that record also. So that was when it sort of started. And then after that, then it was actually like you'd contribute a song.
Okay, so
You know,
Stories Often Told was released anyway around 2002. And
that was around the same time as we were doing Darkness Light. So I think right after Darkness Light and Stories Often Told, that's when we did the Unintended record.
Right, and Darkness Light is the Elevator record for those listening, right?
Yeah, sorry.
Right, no, it's fine. I'm just...
That's when Dallas kind of joined Elevator, too, for Darkness Light. He was more an actual member for that record.
Yeah. There's a whole swirl of activity then that was going on quite organically, and lots of collaborative projects on the go. That's fair to say, right, Rick?
Yeah. Well, I guess that's when I was finally kind of living in Toronto, so it was more, we were all together all the time, you know, coming up with stuff.
Yeah. You
it was a good, neat collaborative time.
Yeah, because you were in almost three, if you count Elevator, Sadie, and Unintended, you got three things at least going together, right?
Yeah, they were like two bands that kind of gelled into one for a bit.
Yeah. You brought up Anna Lee, which is a favorite song of mine, and I thought I noticed an allusion to it on this new album that we're ostensibly here to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Do you allude to Anna Lee on, I think it's With or Without You, is that right?
Yeah, it's kind of a conscious kind of part two to that in a way, because it was kind of written for Dallas, you know, originally, and in a style that I thought he would like, you know, about kind of a creepy someone dying on the road, you know.
Yeah.
Even as weird as I thought it was, giving them a song about somebody dying while on the touring, you know, and then coming back as a ghost. This song I kind of wrote about, it's one of the few songs on the new record that is really actually about, you know, Dallas, where most of them are not, you know, they're about loss and stuff, but I think just With or Without You and the last song are more directed completely toward him.
Yeah.
But yeah, that song was kind of like the same sort of theme, because it was, I'm sure the other guys have this too, but after, you know, we lost him, he was showing up in my dreams a lot. And it kind of gave me that feeling of like, you know, are you still here because of that? You know, it's like, and then I thought it'd be clever to do the same sort of outro as Anna Lee to kind of connect the two songs together.
Okay. So yeah, I heard it, but it felt pretty obvious to me, and not to be too silly, I was also struck by the title you gave this song, With or Without You, because Mike, are you familiar with the band U2 at all? Have you heard of them?
Yeah, I've heard of U2.
Yeah, they're from Dublin, Ireland. Travis, do you know U2? Have you heard of them?
No.
They're like a four-piece band from Dublin, Ireland, and I get it. You get it now? Okay. One of their big songs in 1987 was called With or Without You, and when I first saw this on the list of songs, I'm like, that's an interesting choice. Rick, were you? I'm guessing you were completely unconscious about this. But did anyone else?
We were gonna cover a U2 song on the album.
I was like, did they do the U2 song? And then I listened to it. I'm like, they did not do the U2 song. But has anyone else pointed this this reference out to you there, Rick?
No, but I think a few of those song titles probably have other songs. I know Walls is a Gordon Lightfoot song.
Yeah,
and that we covered.
Right. Okay. So
and I'm sure, and Try is the Blue Rodeo song.
So it's a and the first song on the album is called The End, which was made very famous by The Doors. Everyone knows
The Doors, yeah.
that song. So something going on with you and titles. That's just all subconscious? Is that right, Rick?
Yeah, it's pretty subconscious, but I don't really worry about it too much, because I mean I even have songs that I've written that have the same name.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Some of my old old songs I've written.
Yeah. Well, as I said,
I just figure, you know,
I was just being silly.
just a title.
Yeah. I will say, Rick, just not to leave the unintended. Actually, I want to ask about the connection.
Spellbound.
Spellbound? Yes. What about it?
I was just going to say Spellbound is a Susie and the Banshees song.
Susie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a song here called Green, which a very famous REM album.
Oh, yeah.
So there's just a lot of 80s megastars. Blue Rodeo, REM, U2, swimming around a little bit on this.
Well, it's funny because I practiced, I did one of my covers collections that you know of.
Yes.
I did the 60s one before I wrote these songs just to kind of get all those songs in my head, like to get songwriting in my head and to get my voice, up to par. I did like 20 or 30 covers.
Huh.
And so maybe that's where all the titles are sort of similar to 60s and 70s songs. It was good practice, though, for sure.
It's funny. I associate you, Rick, and certainly I associate Dallas and even the Sadies with a love of the Monkees, the band The Monkees. And do you guys know, Mike, do you know the Monkees? Have you ever heard of them?
I have.
Yeah, they're from the different time. But there's a song on the new album called Anymore, and I think that's the one I'm thinking of. Rick, if I tell you that one kind of vaguely seems like it could be a Monkees song, does that resonate with you?
Yeah, maybe it could be. I mean, it's got a little more of that sort of a 60s kind of garagey sound to it a little bit.
Yeah, it's
especially once Travis added his guitar, he kind of did this cool little riff part to it. It makes it really brings it out.
Wonderful. But I don't think I've said this yet, but this whole album is really wonderful. Just as a fan, let alone for me, the sort of sentiment and emotional aspect of this this collaboration. But you've done a wonderful job together here, everyone. So I just want to thank you for coming back together without embarrassing you with flattery. I'm just very happy that this thing exists. And then, like on paper, I was like, oh, I can't wait. And then when you get it and it's actually great, I just want to say that's a nice feeling as a fan. So thank you so much.
I'm glad you're welcome. Thank you. I'm glad I got to do it with those guys. It was really a nice experience, and I'm glad the songs sort of came to me. I always just hope they'll come, and it was a good little batch of songs, and I'm glad we got to do them.
Yeah.
It was great. It was good. Like being on tour for me right now. It was good therapy for me too. It's when Rick said he sees Dallas in dreams a lot. I see him more when I'm in the studio or on stage. Is what I feel the most.
Yeah.
I don't want to tell tales out of school, but you are not the only mutual friends or brothers in this case of Dallas's that I've heard say that they've experienced visitations. Noticed eerie things in their house, and
well, if I've ever met someone who was the type of person that would like to play ghosts in the jokes on you in the afterlife, it was Dallas.
I'm
sure some of the times he's shown up to me in dreams, it's been like not sad or scary. It's always like little jump scares, like hey, he surprises me, and I'll wake up like wow, Jesus.
Yeah,
I feel like he's doing it on purpose just to be like a tease or something, a joke.
Well, and I don't think it's
interesting.
I don't think it's a coincidence that some of the other stories I've heard from other people are in that realm, like almost pranks, because he was such a fun and funny guy. And you're right. Who else would do such things?
Well, and he saw humor in like the macabre or whatever. Like he liked that dark kind of gothy kind of stuff. So it was in a funny way. Like it was great.
I have a portrait of him that Don Pyle took. It's looking at me right now. I swear to God, I have portraits of people and they're looking into the camera, but there's something about this Dallas one, and I don't know if I need to go to the doctor, but I feel like he is actually staring at me, and I feel like it follows me. Like when I look, this portrait is winning every staring contest with me right now, and I have to kind of avert my eyes because I'm like, I feel like he's here. So that's fascinating that I think all of us feel this presence. And Travis, I don't know if you caught wind of it or saw it, but I ended up writing a review of this record, and I said something about how it felt like dialogue in some ways with him, with Dallas. Does that resonate with you at all? Like, do you feel like whether it's this record or when you're playing, do you feel like you're communicating with him in some way?
Oh yeah, on stage I hear his harmonies. I've been, spending the last 2.5 years trying to figure out his guitar parts. It's he feels very close at those particular moments, you know.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, like by Travis taking on both guitar parts, like instead of getting someone else to try to play Dallas's parts, it's really absorbed, you know, all that into. I imagine it's pretty heavy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah.
Even writing a song, I could hear his voice saying like, "That's pretty good" or "That's terrible." Move on.
Right.
You know.
I interrupt this episode of my own show for a brief thank you for hearing my call to support me and my work on Patreon. We have seen a lot of growth in Patreon support over the last little while, which is amazing because that's my primary source of income these days. And I love doing this job that I invented for myself a whole lot. Creative Control is a listener-supported podcast. Do podcasters receive any streaming royalties from podcast platforms? No, not any. Does podcast advertising pay the bills? Not for a show at this scale, no. Do all podcasters get paid by companies for their work like some celebrities do? No. No, most of us do not. We do this work to support our communities and because we love it. So what's the most reliable source of income for podcasters like me? Crowdfunding platforms like Patreon. So if you love Creative Control with Vish Khanna and want to see it continue, please see the notes in this episode. Click on the link that takes you to my Patreon and its different donation tiers with various incentives and benefits, and support me and my work today. Thank you again so much.
Yeah, man.
That is an interesting thing you just said, Travis. So you've been writing. So sorry, just for everyone, the context is the last time Travis and Mike were on the show, we were talking about the final Sadies album, Colder Streams, that the Dallas had a huge hand in making, and then sadly passed away before it even came out. Sadies have been touring as a three-piece with some special guests, and it's been wonderful. The shows I've gotten to see, I wish I could have seen more, but I'm sure I will at some point. Travis, you're since Colder Streams, it sounds like you've been writing. Is that right?
Yeah, a little bit here and there. You know,
Yeah.
I not for a Sadies record or anything like that. I mean, in the foreseeable future, I would think that any recording we would do would be like this one. I'd like to just collaborate for a little while.
Yeah, yeah. And this must be a really nice way to get back into that with someone who, you know, arguably as big a part of the Sadies as anyone else on some level with Rick. Is that a fair way of putting it?
Oh, 100% for sure.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. In fact, a friend of mine whose opinion I respect just last night told me that he listened to the record and he said that that's as close to, in his opinion, as close to sounding like a Sadies record as we'll ever get now without Dallas, which I thought was a huge compliment.
Yeah. Rick, how does that make you feel?
Great, but great and bad in some ways, like, because I feel like I wish I could, you know, I'm sure we will. Maybe, you know, I'd love to play a show like this with them someday, or at least, you know, play with them. I feel like I'm not. I wish I could have it more in me to be a real touring person, you know. But I mean, I haven't played any shows at all in so many years, and so I feel great that people say that, but then I also feel guilty at the same time.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Oh no, you're not. That was not the intention.
No, I know. I know. You guys are always so supportive of it. Like, they're always like thinking,
Why did I say
like whenever. Oh, go on. Sorry.
No, never mind.
I think we have a big everything's fine. Everything's good. It's okay. I think there's this is a complicated situation on some level. I was last night, and don't tell my son this, anyone. During his soccer game, I decided I would listen to the deluxe edition of the Unintended album.
Oh, yeah.
Rick, you put this out. When did you put this out? Like 4 or 5 years ago or something like that?
Yeah, I think so. When we first one of the first things we did, I guess, when we started doing Blue Fog vinyl again after a big break. It's still one of my favorite albums I've worked on before. So I'm so glad to have it on vinyl and to put everything together that we did record.
Well, the deluxe edition contains some demos, and I was including Why Be So Curious, and it's you, Rick, it's you and Dallas, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's shortly after I wrote it.
Yeah.
When we were probably thinking of doing it with the Unintended maybe or something, and then he took it to the Sadies because they were writing a new album. But yeah, that's a kind of a rare demo I sort of came across that sounded pretty good. I think it was done on a 4-track. And the other one was that Another Love Song, which we used to play a bit live when we did some shows in 2005.
Well, it's a beautiful. I'd kind of forgotten about these bonus tracks, so they really struck me, and I wondered about the writing for this record. So, Rick, when you would contribute songs to the Sadies records, did you give them to Dallas whole, or would you collaborate on them together? And I'm just curious how that would work. I'm sure there was some back and forth, but
well, sometimes he would ask me if to write a few lyrics or something for like a middle section or something, which was more their song already. But I think like that, Why Be So Curious and Anna Lee were pretty done when like they did it kind of the similar way. But he always would rewrite a few lyrics, just to make it more his own and to make everyone sings in a different timing, like, so sometimes I'll have the words when he tries to sing them, they won't fit the same way because we have different ways of fitting melodies into a song. So he would rewrite a few of the lyrics. I know Anna Lee has quite a few just subtly rewritten lyrics from my demo.
Yeah.
And Why Be So Curious, I think he just changed the order of the verses a little bit.
Yeah.
And Heart of Wood's another song I wrote for them that he changed the words completely to that one, but it's the same melody.
Huh. How did that make you feel when he would alter things like that?
I didn't mind for some of them, but I remember thinking for Heart of Wood that I was like, that I thought my lyrics were better. But I think it's just because they made more sense to me, and he's like, I'm not sure what you're going for, so he made it make more sense to him.
I see.
So it's totally understandable at the same time.
Ah, that's unique insight into that. Mike, I'm going to go to you on this. I'm sure you may not have the most solid answer, but I think some of us wondered why there was only one unintended record. Knowing your schedules at the time, shortly after that album came out, I have a sense of it, but when you ponder this, Mike, like, do you have a sense of why the unintended never got back together to make another record?
I think it's probably schedule based, because I always certainly hoped, but I also thought we would do another record as that group of people. My experience doing it left me wanting to do more of it. It was great. Like I really enjoyed making that record, and I didn't know what to expect because, I had not made a record with Rick producing or kind of being at the helm, so I wasn't sure how he was going to, I guess, convey how he wanted to get what he wanted to hear. And I was a little nervous that, because he's such a nice guy, be like, settle on something being okay, but that certainly wasn't the case. And, however, I never felt like when he said, I think you can do it differently or better, or I never felt like insecure. Like the communication was really clear, and ultimately the finished product was I'm really proud that we made that record. So that's always a good feeling. It doesn't happen all the time.
You should be. It's a wonderful record.
It was a fun experience.
Yeah, I imagine it was. It's there's a bit of lore to it, right? There was a snowstorm or something. You were trapped inside. Is that right, Mike?
Well, yeah, we were all just living up at Greg's. I don't remember the snowstorm part, but I do remember making that entire record wearing a pair of slippers, which was also a first.
Didn't you sleep over, Mike? More. Wasn't it you who slept in a room that the window was cracked or something, and the snow was coming in the room?
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
I seem to remember that. Yeah.
No, it's all coming back now. But
all I remember was the cats. How many cats did Greg Keeler have living in his house at that point? There was more cats than musicians.
The cat, and the cat. One of them peed on my winter coat. I had it hanging on the door, and he fucking pissed on it.
Oh no!
One of them peed into the toaster right in front of us.
Oh no! That sounds disgusting. Really?
Yeah, it was disgusting, but it was kind of amazing. Like great aim and everything. Like it was really wild.
Do you think the cats were like, "Get out of here, you layabouts! This is our house"? Do you feel like that was what was going on?
Probably. Or I don't know. Maybe they were just Yeah, maybe trying to mark their turf.
They thought we ate too much toast.
You guys got to cut back on the carbs. We're taking care of you. Yeah, that's.
I think some of them were kind of wild. I think anyway. I think Greg said they were just coming in the basement. There was like a way to get in. So I think a few of them weren't even like. They were just sort of wild feral cats.
Did they influence any of the songwriting per se, Rick? The cats?
No, probably not. I think songs were all written before, but there's a picture of one of them, I think, on the inner sleeve there.
Oh, nice. Travis, do you have any perspective on, I was asking Mike about this, but do you have any perspective on why the Unintended didn't keep making records?
Scheduling and scheduling.
Yeah,
really.
That's it.
I think around that time is when the Sadies started getting really more busy, even like they really started touring a lot.
Yeah.
And I had stopped playing shows. Elevator broke up, so I was moved out here in the country. So
okay,
I'll be just all that kind of scheduling.
Yeah, circumstances.
And you know, time is we think it's 3 months, and the next thing you know, it's been 6 years since we've got together. So it just sort of slips away.
Yeah,
yeah. There was many times over the last 20 years that I had talked to Dallas and we talked about hey, we should do another record sometime. Yeah. But just time goes on.
Until Dallas died, I never once thought that we wouldn't someday make another Unintended record.
Right.
Yeah, me too.
Right.
Yeah, same here.
So I know that this isn't exactly the case, but Travis, do you see? I mean, it's the Sadies with Rick, but there's Greg's not here. Obviously, Dallas is not here. But do you see any continuity between that Unintended record and this Rick White and the Sadies record in a feeling? The approach, anything like that?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, yeah, it's the same. It's 4 out of 6 of the group. It's so it's it had this, obviously the same vibe for me very much. But going in, I'm a one-trick pony. I just do what I do. I just play what comes to mind, and if it's not like I'm going to change anything because I'm doing this. I'm not going to make it try and recreate the Unintended in any way or anything like that.
Yeah.
Or try to recreate a Sadies record. It's just is what it is. It's just documenting it as quickly and painlessly as possible.
Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough.
I originally thought of making it Unintended when I first started thinking that we should make another record, now, and the first song, or Standing in the Yard, the second song, is the only song on the record that's actually from 2005. Like, it was kind of written for a second Unintended record.
Oh.
Where all the other songs are new, but that one was kind of like, but then I think talking to them and just realizing that Dallas was such a big part of it, and even Greg, and recording out there, and just the times that we figured the Unintended name should just stay with that album,
Yeah.
And Rick White and the Sadies, it just made more sense, for this one for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So, Rick, I assume the impetus to make this record came from you, is that right?
Well, I guess, yeah. Well, like Travis was saying, we've been kind of we all said, we thought we would eventually make one day,
Yeah.
So I think it just came to us. It's probably me who started writing the songs for it and sending them demos and stuff, but I don't know, it just seemed that it was a good time to do it.
And this is since Dallas passed away, is that correct?
Yeah, I think because even right shortly after he had died, I wrote the last song on the record, Life, which is the only real song that I think is really, dedicated toward him completely, or because of that situation.
Yeah,
that was written right after, and I think ever since that song, I kind of was slowly accumulating songs I thought would be good with the Sadies playing on them.
Yeah,
songs that I knew Mike's drumming and Sean's bass and Travis's stuff would all really work with well. So I kept kind of collecting them in a file, like these songs would be good for that. And then eventually I had 13 or 14 of them.
Yeah. So in terms of sending the demos, were you looking for feedback per se, or you know what? Actually, I'm going to take this to Travis. Travis, when you heard the demos, did you offer any particular the way Dallas might say, I like this, I don't like this, like, or was it like, no, let's just get together and figure this out? Like, what was your mindset when you received the demos, Travis?
I was very enthusiastic. I was not critical of any of the songs, I don't think, at all, of course. And Rick told me basically to just do whatever I wanted on the songs, you know, and he gave me complete freedom.
Yeah, I left the demos,
which I usually don't work with. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I left the demos pretty open and empty, you know, it was just drums, bass, and an acoustic rhythm guitar and a vocal. So I didn't do any soloing or something, you know, I left everything open for Travis to add parts to, for sure.
Okay, nice.
Yeah,
nice. And so, Rick, when you've alluded to the fact that Life was written after Dallas died, and ostensibly might be one of the. I think you said something similar about With or Without You too being.
With or Without You is those two are for sure. Like the rest of them are not necessarily, you know, about. I didn't want to make the record focus completely on, you know, on losing Dallas.
Yeah.
As much as all the songs are, they're just going to all be anyway, you know, because we're playing together and he's on our mind and he's with us while we're doing it. But yeah, lyrically, those two songs are mostly the ones about it.
Yeah, there's the literal stuff, but I guess when I was listening to the record a couple of times today, I thought, I feel like some of these songs might be written in a style that Dallas might have, like they're not necessarily about the loss or addressing him directly, but maybe they are also a little tribute to the stuff that you two, Rick, you and Dallas liked, like the kinds of music you liked. So does that make any sense? Like, was he on your mind, and just in terms of like how you approached?
I guess, because like I said, I guess these were songs I sort of put in a folder that I thought would be good for the Sadies. So I guess it was, you know, certain styles that we've done before, they've done before a bit, or. Like Here in My Body kind of has that, you know, long psychedelic jam like the Collapse on the Unintended record.
Yeah.
Or the song Green kind of has that warm, like, why be so curious sort of record thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I guess, you know, they do have a similar feel to what I thought the Sadies would do good.
Yeah. Yeah, there's obviously going to be
not hardcore.
There's obviously going to be continuity given the people involved. I'm not surprised by it, but I just wonder how conscious or intentional your thoughts were about what you were going to write about, and I think you've addressed it already. But is there anything more you want to say about your overall approach to formulating this project and kind of what you wanted to convey?
No, I just wanted to make a good catchy melodic record with the dry 70s production that I like, and of good songs that I thought the Sadies would play good with me, and so I guess I intentionally did stuff, and it all turned out the way I was hoping.
Yeah, no, it's well done. Mike, can you take us into the sessions a little bit? Where do they happen? When do they happen? And maybe just give us a sense of what they were like for you.
Sure. They happened at Rick's studio in the country. And I wasn't exactly sure how we were going to do it. We did it all, each one of us Sadies individually went to Rick's and did our tracks.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Initially, the demos that Rick gave us were great. And I thought maybe one way to approach it might be to play the demo on headphones and just play along to them, because, you know, other than listening to them while on tour, I had practiced them that way and I knew that I could get takes that way. Mm-hmm. But when I got to Rick's place, it was unique for me. He sat in the room with me and had the controls in, you know, where we were recording, and he played acoustic guitar and I played drums with him. And that was, I'd never done that before, and I wouldn't say skeptical, but I was kind of curious how that would work, and it kind of worked great. And initially I thought it would be a number of sessions to get all the songs recorded, and we just got on a roll, and yeah, we just ended up cranking them all out in one kind of a long day, but an enjoyable day, like, you know,
yeah,
good company and good music. So, I mean, it was kind of perfect.
Yeah,
nice.
Mike knew the songs all really well, so we were able to just sort of run through them, and record them like first and second takes. You know, a lot of them. And if you just if you just listen to just the drum track, you can hear me playing guitar and singing in the background a little bit.
Oh,
I'm sure. Yeah,
that's cool.
And I think it was winter as far as I remember, because I remember the drive up there was a little bit hairy on some of the back roads. But yeah, I don't remember exactly what month it would have been. Maybe February or something, January.
Yeah, January, I think. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, despite my earlier rudeness, I think Mike Belitsky is one of the most fantastic people and drummers around. And I didn't mean to... Mike, I just want to circle back and apologize for my initial rudeness to you. I love you very much. And if anyone's going to be a professional when he gets to Rick White's house, it's going to be Mike Belitsky, everyone. So I hope I've 180'd enough for you, Mike. Full compliments.
I don't even remember what you said that was negative. So.
Oh, it was bad. Well, fortunately this is being recorded. We can all revisit my terrible behavior. But no, it's I'm happy to hear that. Before I get to you, Rick, in terms of why you chose to record everyone individually, or why I assume you suggested it, I don't know. We'll find out. Travis, what was the experience like for you?
It was similar to Mike's. I took a couple of days though. I took my time, and
it's kind of more to do.
Maybe more to do, but not necessarily. But I'm just slower, I think. And but the whole thing, like I said, you know, it's not only was like, do I feel close to Dallas in the studio, but also I very much miss him, because he did a lot of direction for me. He told me when I was wasting time on a part or something very quickly. And so, it was the perfect scenario for me to dip my toe back in the water in a studio situation where I was comfortable with people that I like and love. And it was really the only way to start this recording again process.
Yeah.
For me.
And Travis, did Rick give you similar kinds of direction to what Dallas would have done?
To a degree, sound things, and but not as. I mean, Dallas had a very strong opinion about everything in the studio.
Yeah.
I guess that's the difference between Dallas and me in a way, where I'm more like enthusiastically like, "Well, try this," and then Travis would try it, and I'd be like, "Oh wow, try it faster. Let's go do it faster." You know, maybe it was it was fun. I'm glad we did it separately in a way too, because I get to have each of them here for, alone. And so it was really neat to connect with Mike for a full day, and record that way. And then have Sean come out and add the bass parts, just for a full day while we hung out. And then to have Travis come out for 2 separate days and record, it was just, they were really nice days to do that.
Yeah. But this was a deliberate decision on your part, Rick, on a production level, to bring everyone individually. Is that right?
Yeah. I think it was just the way I record myself. Mostly I'll just lay down parts one at a time. So, and the amount of gear I have here too probably would have been harder to try to record everyone at once.
Yeah. And
really, when you do that, you're just kind of getting a bed track anyway. You're getting drums and bass and a rhythm guitar live. So.
Yeah, it worked out to be a very efficient way to record.
Yeah,
efficient and unusual for you, Mike?
No, I'm pretty accustomed to doing songs to something that maybe is already pre-recorded to a click track, or or just one or two people. Yeah, it's pretty effective actually. Like that way, really, like if somebody makes a mistake, it's not at the peril of other people's tracks.
Yeah, the whole take isn't ruined by one mistake. That's right. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. I mean, there's something to be said for both ways. And like Travis was saying, I mean, our first records they really were live off the floor. And like recording with Steve Albini, his goal was to capture this pure sound of a band, and I think that's totally what he did. Whereas as we progressed musically, like recording without the whole band became less and less of a anomaly and a strange feeling, and something that we're all pretty used to by now.
Well, it's a remarkable record. And again, I would just want to thank you for getting together to make it. As we wind down here, something just occurred to me that I don't know if this is going to seem weird, but Travis, for years you've been in the Sadies playing songs that Rick has written for the band. Could you see the band trying to perform any of this material when Rick's not available? Like, I know Rick playing live will that it's possible, but it may not be. Like, have you thought about maybe trying to play any of these songs live, Travis?
Oh, I think it's possible. Yeah. I mean, I already do Heart of Wood a lot and Anna Lee quite a lot. So that's not that wild of a card for me. That's something for sure I'd like to try anyways.
Yeah.
You know.
I didn't seem like that out of left field, to be honest, given the fact that you do play songs. Okay, cool. That's kind of neat. Rick,
I think I heard the Sadies did unintended songs, I think, even once or twice. I remember seeing a video, I think, of doing that last song on the unintended record. What's it? I think what it's called now, but I've seen footage of that.
Is that right? Like in a recent configuration? Like since
no,
Dallas?
This would have been years ago, but yeah.
Long time ago, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds promising.
Cool, yeah, it's all cool.
Yeah, that sounds promising. Rick, at this point, you don't have a sense of whether you'd want. It sounds like you'd want to play, maybe, but no plans at the moment.
I do want to. I just feel like I need to sort of I need to just try. It's just hard to come out of my my cocoon.
Yeah,
I've put myself in for the last 20 years.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. So, given the good feelings about this album, I believe it's being well received by fans as well. Like, Rick, have you pondered doing something like this again already, or is that too far gone, too far in the future?
No, I'd love to. They're great to work with those guys. I can see it happening again.
Yeah. They are great to work with, except for Mike. I don't know if you've heard, but Mike can be difficult. No, just kidding. Sorry, it happened again. I circled back to the rudeness. Mike, I assume you'd love to do this sort of thing again with Rick.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, like, same feeling as with the unintended. Like, I'm just assuming it will happen again. And hopefully time doesn't slip by and it's not a possibility.
Yeah. And Travis, like you said, this opens the door for you to ponder studio life again. So it sounds like all told, this was just a wonderful experience for you to get to make this record. Yeah, yeah.
Rick is and has since the very beginning with art and songs and everything just being there is the fifth Sadie in my opinion.
You know, I said this in that review I was alluding to, and already somebody on the Facebook was like, "What about blah blah blah?" and "What about blah blah blah?" And I was like, "I don't know what to tell you, buddy, but I think
blah blah blah."
Yeah, exactly. People have all sorts of opinions. I think I wrote something like, "It takes a village to raise." What did I say? It takes a village of Sadies to raise the Sadies, or something like that. I said some joke, and because you have some helping hands. But I do think, Rick, it's just lovely. It's lovely that you're a part of this thing, and I thank you for initiating it. So, future plans time. Sadies are always busy on tour. I know that. Travis, lots of road work coming up, I'm guessing?
Yeah, lots of road work.
Okay.
It's good. It's really good.
I see clips. I've seen this band, this version of the band 3 times now. That was a while ago. Any change in the feeling since you first tried doing this after your brother passed away? Is it a different feeling in any way? Are you feeling more comfortable? Anything like that there, Travis?
Yeah, I was starting to get a little confidence, I suppose, a little bit. It has changed musically quite a bit, you know, as a 3-piece band, you know, I think it's more in your face kind of. It's less dynamic and a little heavy-handed.
But not in a bad way, I would say. I don't even know if I agree.
Well, I mean, I say that. No, I say that, and now just remembering, like, we're starting to play like a lot of acoustic stuff now and playing quite quietly.
Oh,
so I don't know. It's changing. It's definitely changing.
Yeah, Mike, the run I saw had Casey and Clayton as an opening act, and then they would hop on stage with Sadie, and then also I think you did a run with Daniel Romano's Outfit, and they would join you to play with you on stage. Is that sort of stuff continued with other people or anything like that?
It hasn't, but I don't think that's because we didn't enjoy it, or it's just been that we haven't taken somebody on tour. We've been using like local people. But that being said, there's often people in each city that we know, and they're welcome to and have also joined us on stage to complement our show, and it's always great and fun and challenging. And like, you know, we played with How Gelb in Tucson on this last tour that we just got back from, and I'm gonna miss people, but Scotty McCoy played in Portland, and yeah, those kinds of guest appearances are really good, and they spice it up for, I think, for the crowd, but also for us too. Like, it keeps us on our toes, and it's a lot of fun for sure.
That's nice. That's great. That's great to hear. I'm happy, and I can't wait to see the band again sometime soon, I hope. Travis, anything in the realm of releases or recordings that might be forthcoming? Just as a fan, I'm just curious.
I mean, the only thing that we got sort of ready to go that maybe in the next, there's no rush though, but you know, we made, like, before Gord Downey left us, we managed to record 5 songs of The Conquering Sun. And so maybe it's even 6. But so we're going to do something with that someday.
Yeah. Okay. So that's older stuff. Yeah, we talked about this the last time you were on. I remember that now. Yeah. Yeah,
we just still haven't done anything. But yeah, we talked about that, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only thing kind of in the can at the moment. Okay, cool. Rick, what about you? You've been prolific with Blue Fog recordings and releasing things. I'm trying to collect everything I can as I see the announcements on on various social media and whatnot. Anything coming up that you wanted to share with us at this point?
Nothing really new planned too much. Brian and I have been working on a bit more of our hardcore band there. We do for fun. I did a bunch of those set covers collections, which are just kind of for keep me practice writing songs and stuff. Those are fun. I kind of just do, doing fun stuff like that for Bandcamp, people who enjoy hearing it. Okay. But I don't have any real serious record projects on the go yet. Okay.
The hardcore band with Brian Taylor is Old. Is that the one?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
We're probably going to do, we have a few more songs written.
Oh, great. Okay, cool. So I don't want to, be presumptuous, but Rick, do you think you and Brian might want to come on the show at some point to talk about that?
Yeah, for sure.
You hesitated.
Yeah, I know Brian.
I can tell you.
No,
you seem sheepish. I would be too if I came at someone and someone came like me came to them. No, I'm kidding. That would be something.
No, Brian was looking forward to it. I think we had talked about it a bit before once, and yeah, Brian was into it.
Oh, great. Okay, I can't tell sometimes.
He has lots of fun stories.
He does. I just can't tell sometimes if Brian likes me or not. I think he loves me, but also doesn't like me. That's how I feel. I feel like he feels that way about like a lot of people, probably especially Mike Belitsky.
Jeez, Vish, I'd say the same thing about you, dude.
No. Mike, I love you very much. Our sons are basically named the same name. It's just slight variations. You ever notice that?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
I have noticed that.
Yeah. So I think Mike, for those listening, Mike and I, we found out recently that we've always used the same Wordle word. And we struck gold on the same day when our first attempt. Yeah. So Mike, you and I are basically brothers, I think, at this point.
That's what I believe. I texted you as soon as I discovered our Wordle connection and said, this is more proof that we were separated at birth.
Yeah, so just to be clear, I can be a little rude to Mike because he's my brother, and that's how it works. Sometimes you give your brother
sibling.
Yeah, you give your brother the business sometimes. That's how it works. Anyway, very lovely to have you guys all on. I'd like to go out on a song from Rick White. Rick, the best place to get, are there still vinyl copies of this album available?
Yeah, there's a few. We have them on our Big Cartel, and the Sadies have them at their shows, and they sell them on their website too, I think.
Okay, cool. So it's rickwhitearchive.bandcamp.com, but it's also the Blue Fog Recordings Big Cartel, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and the Sadies website too.
The Sadies.net is what my memory is telling me the website is, but if I'm wrong, I will fix it. I'll link to it in the show notes there, but I'm pretty sure it's the Sadies.net. Unless Mike, does that sound right?
No, that sounds right. Yeah.
Okay, good. Travis,
Brian and I are driving like 200 of them up to Creemore tomorrow too, so they'll have a bunch at their shows.
Oh, okay, cool. I mean, by the time people hear this, that show will have been over. So don't, hey, if you're listening to this and it's 2027, don't drive all the way to Creemore to get a copy of this album. You'll have to find it your own way. Call your local record store or whatever. And there you go. Okay, sorry, I forgot about that business there. Right. So if we can go out on a song from Rick White and the Sadies, I'm going to go to Rick to choose. But Mike and Travis, you have veto power. If you don't like his choice, you can say so, and it'll be a little uncomfortable. But that's just the nature of my show. Rick, can you pick a song for us to go out on?
Why do I have to choose?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, let's see here.
I'm
Travis.
not sure.
I thought Rick, you'd most want to choose for some reason of the three.
Well, I know. I just don't know which to pick.
It's hard to pick your babies. To select. Did you want me to see if one of the Sadies has an idea?
What do you choose?
No, I'm not choosing. I don't get involved in these choices. It's too complicated. Too complicated. Yeah, I can't. I also ask because I sometimes think that whatever's on someone's mind gives us as listeners a little insight as to what they're feeling. You know, like if they pick a certain song and they tell us why they chose it, you just learn a little bit more about them and the song. You see? Sorry, is this too much information, Travis? I'm just trying to tell you what's on my mind.
Uh-huh.
It's hard to pick a favorite. Maybe Spellbound.
Sorry, were you saying something, Vish?
Was I saying something? No. Oh, sorry, Mike. Did you want to pick a song?
Well, Rick just picked.
Well, I said one, but I'm just coming up with some ideas.
Okay, well,
that was the one I was going to say. Spellbound too.
Now, I wrote about Spellbound and suggested it might be about contemporary times in a way. Rick, do you want to give us any insight about this song, this ominous unknown thing that drives us mad, and it's coming to our town? And what inspired this exactly?
Well, it's people are always like that, but during the whole COVID thing, you know how everyone just seems like we get addicted to the fear of everything, you know. So
yeah. Hey, so what I wrote was actually what I wrote. If I don't know if you saw it, Rick, I think you did. What I wrote wasn't too far off.
No.
All right, so everyone agrees I'm smart. Everyone knows that I'm smart. That's all I just wanted to say there. Travis, you think I'm pretty smart, right?
Yeah, not bad. Not bad. I always thought Spellbound was about Susie and the Banshees, but
right. Right. Yeah, I could see that. Well, here it is now. This is Spellbound by Rick White and the Sadies from their wonderful self-titled album. Rick, Travis, Mike, I really can't thank you enough for making time and tolerating my tomfoolery and buffoonery. It means a lot to have you on my podcast, and I hope you enjoyed yourselves, and I hope we talk again, and I wish you the best of luck in the future. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Vish.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vish.
Not right in the background. We sense it's not quite right in the background. We feel the eerie feelings coming down, and we feel these eerie feelings coming down. Down on the town, there's worry going around, 'cause to the horror we are spellbound. Something is near, oh so near. We're sensing that something is very near, but what that thing could be is not so clear. What that thing could be is never clear. here and it must be bad. This ominous unknown thing drives us mad. This ominous unknown thing drives us mad. So terror fills the town and panic spreads around, 'cause to the horror we are spellbound. Yeah, to the horror we are spellbound. Yeah, to the horror we are spellbound.
There you go, a new song called Spellbound by Rick White and the Sadies. I want to thank Rick and Travis and Mike for appearing on this, the 889th episode of Creative Control, which is part of the Lionsgate Sound Network and is available pretty much wherever you get your podcasts. If you can't find an episode you're looking for, or if you want to learn more about me, please visit vishkana.com. Also, click on the hyperlink text that says follow Vish online to find me on whatever we're all using in terms of social media and whatnot. That's where you go. It's a link tree. You'll see. Also, please visit patreon.com/creative control to make a flexible monthly donation to keep this show going. $6 American or more a month with a monthly subscription grants you access to exclusive content and every single episode in its entirety. So if you want to hear every single episode and not miss anything, that's your best bet. That's where they all live, on the Patreon. So again, learn more at patreon.com/creative control. Also want to thank the wonderful Alberta record store Blackbird Music, which you can learn more about and order records from their website, blackbird.ca. Also want to thank independent businesses like Pizza Trocadero, The Bookshelf, and Planet Bean Coffee in Guelph, Ontario, and Granddad's Donuts in Hamilton, Ontario, for their in-kind support for this show. As always, thanks to my friend Jim Guthrie for lending me some music that I play on the show. You're probably hearing a bit of that right now. And you can learn more about Jim at jimguthrie.org. And finally, thank you so much for listening to this episode with Rick White and the Sadies. I enjoyed it very much. Always love connecting with those people. They're some of my favorite musicians and artists ever in my life. So I hope you enjoyed that, and we'll check out their new album and go see them live. As you heard me say, since we recorded this, they announced that they are doing a show on September 6th in Toronto, Ontario at the Great Hall. So wish I could be there. I probably can't, but I hope you'll go. Yeah. And otherwise, I hope you will keep listening to this podcast. Leave nice ratings and reviews on your pod platforms and tell your friends about the show. Spread the word about it. And yeah, that's it. I gotta go. I will talk to you very soon. Thanks again. Bye for now.